Hello, I'm Frank Lessner, Editorial Director of American Farriers Journal and an International Hoof Care Summit. This year, we launched our first ever Farrier Dog of the Year contest to honor the loyal dogs who travel along the truck with their Farrier owners while supporting them in their daily foot care work. It is my pleasure to introduce our 2025 Dog of the Year, Phrog, along with his owner, Florida Farrier Jeremy Zackowski. In this video, we'll share some fun facts about Phrog, as his 5-word official name is quite the mouthful and including several words I won't even try to pronounce. So like many others, I'll stick with simply calling him Phrog. We hope you enjoy this video interview conducted by me and AFJ Digital Marketing Coordinator Olivia Cox as we celebrate this dog and owner duel. I want you to pronounce the name of the dog so I don't blow it.
Well, Frog is what everybody knows him by, but his full name is Phrog Frog Diggity Dog Tyrone Zackowski. And there's a whole story of how that came about.
Tell us.
So, and I'm sad, originally I wanted to name him Rufus, just because I've always wanted a dog named Rufus, but we have Rueben as my wife's dog. And every time I start to say Ruben's ears would perk up. When he realized we wasn't talking to him, he'd go pout in the corner. So I'm like, well, that's not going to work. Well, my middle name's Tyrone, so I was going to name him Tyrone. And my wife was like, yeah, let's keep thinking. And then she introduced him to a friend of hers, and they come with the idea, if it's going to be my dog, name him after a part of a horse's foot. So that's where Frog came from. And then we just started calling him Frog Diggity all the time. Well, then my wife says, well, you know, it's spelled P-H-R-O-G because she wanted to shorten it even more and call him P-Dig.
Yeah.
We kind of jokingly fought about it for about 15 minutes, and she said, I don't care. I'm putting it on his paperwork. So at the vet, his full name is Phrog Frog Diggity Dog Tyrone Zackowski.
I'll bet the vet's got a short nickname for him. It's shorter.
Frog.
Frog.
Yes, sir.
So what breed and age is the dog?
So his mom was a rescue, and they think she's part Beagle and Catahoula. And then we have no idea what his dad is. She was rescued, and then the lady that rescued her found out she was pregnant and reached out to my neighbor, who's a rescue, a dog rescue mostly. And that's how we got a hold of him. Yeah. And the age? Any idea on the age? Yes, sir. He was 8 weeks old when we got him. He'll be 2 on March 31st. So he's a year and a half old.
Great. Let's back up a minute and you tell us where you were located in Florida.
In Hawthorne, about 30 minutes north of Ocala.
Okay. So you didn't get hit hard by the hurricane, or did you?
No, sir. We just lost a lot of limbs. The first one, we lost power for about 3.5, almost maybe 4 days. Yeah. And the second one, we lost power for about 10 minutes. Okay. So when you take the dog with you in the truck, does he get to go in the barn, or does he have to stay in the truck, or it depends? I would say about 98% of them, he gets to go out and play, and he plays with the owner's dogs and just has a good old time, investigates the situation, see what's new. And then there's a couple of spots where I just roll the windows down and he hangs his head out and watches me the whole time. Any liability or insurance concerns? No, sir. Okay. No, sir. I just play it safe on knowing the horses and knowing the environment where we're at, and everybody that meets him loves him to death, and that they kind of take him in like he's their own when he gets there. So if I'm working, he's usually either playing with their animals or playing with them. Sure. So you feed him, or does he have to live off the hoof scraps he picks up? Combo, but I did have to cut him back on his dog food because he was eating so many hoof scraps. He was getting a little chunky, so I had to cut him back on his dog food. So he does help you clean up at the barn, huh? Yes, sir, for sure. Right. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened with him on the road? I've got two stories that are just the craziest thing. It really makes me think that he's definitely got some herding dog in him. Yeah. Because I was at one lady's house, and I picked up the last foot on her daughter's horse, and she goes, well, he's got one more to go. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, he put every single one of my chickens back in the chicken coop. He couldn't he was fast enough to get any of them, but he didn't touch them. He just moved them and put them all up. And he was playing with like 4 other dogs and got tired of playing with them, looked at the chickens and just said, y'all look like y'all are supposed to be in here, and just took them to it. And then another one, there was a horse that he had been to a couple of times with me, and normally easy to catch. This one day he decided to be a turd and wanted to run laps around the pasture. And there was a little man-made pond and a little like lean-to kind of cover shelter for the horse where his hay was. And he kept like hitting one corner and then running around and cutting in front of the barn. And I never could get around that pond fast enough to cut him off. He'd hit the fence line and go back up to the corner. Well, after about 3 times, Phrog had figured out the pattern, and he wanted him. He was like trying to go, and I kept calling him off. Finally, that horse took off, and I just said, get him. He took out after him and hazed him and kept him on the fence line, made him go around the backside of the barn so I could get over to across the front. I stopped him. He turned around, and then Phrog wouldn't let him go past him and let me catch him.
Right. Wow. Go back to your first reason. I think you could be glad that your dog's not hungry for eating chicken.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's definitely. I have a little collar with a remote to it, so I can correct him. But I've never really had to use it for anything other than chasing cats. And he doesn't want to get them. He just wants to play with everybody. But he just plays a little more aggressive than they like sometimes. But he's not mean in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, that's great. Well, hey, get him on the camera. What's he?
Yes, Phrog, come here. Come here, bud. Oh, here. Oh, gosh.
Hey, Phrog. Hey, Phrog. Good to see you.
Hey, too, Bubba. Hey, Phrog. Hey,
how much he weigh?
He's about 55 pounds.
Yeah. For as
little as he is, he's compact, but he's solid.
Yeah. I thought it was great the picture you had of him with the horse in the background.
Oh, yes, sir. That was my wife's horse. We kind of set that one up in the grove.
Right. You ever take him to McDonald's for lunch?
We go through the drive-through, and he loves him some chicken nuggets and French fries.
Uh-oh. So he does like chicken, huh?
Yes, sir.
Right.
As long as it's cooked. He don't want the live ones.
All right. That's good. We're going to get a little more serious now. We'll talk a little about your practice.
Yes,
how
sir.
long you been shoeing, and how'd you get started?
Well, I've been getting under horses for probably close to 15 years now.
Yeah.
I grew up with horses. Me and my dad used to raise Tennessee Walkers, and I used to train and show for him back when I was growing up. So I've always trained horses kind of part-time basis. And I went through the College of Central Florida equine program down in Ocala. And my goal was just to put a piece of paper with my experience, get a business plan, buy property, and build a training facility. But my first class in that program was Farrier science. And my first assignment was find a horse with bad feet and present it to class. And I'm like, oh my God, when am I going to have time for this? I was going to Santa Fe College, the College of Central Florida, a full load plus a class. Yeah. And I had 3 horses at the house I was starting under saddle and about 10 people on rotation. I'd do hourly sessions at their house. But fortunately and unfortunately, one of my horses had really, really nasty thrush. So to the point where she had contracted heels, underrun heels, super long toe. And I stuck a screwdriver probably about the length of my index finger between the bulbs of her heels before I hit anything tender. And she never took a lame step, but she was just sore enough to getting up on her toes and to change the shape of her foot. But I took pictures of it, showed it to my Farrier science teacher, who's a veterinarian in Farrier in Ocala. And he was like, man, that's perfect. Use that for your project. And then he asked me, he said, I'm curious what your Farrier's going to say about it. And that was, we just got rolling. He asked me, like, how often is this horse trimmed? And I told him every 6 weeks. And he said, well, I can coach you how to fix it if you want to. So he said, just cut her heels off as short as you can cut them and roll her toe. And he started kind of coaching me on things and medicated the thrush. And I had her fixed within about 5 months. And then some of my training clients were like, well, I like the way your horse's feet look when you start trimming mine. And that started it. And then last semester of the program, I went and apprenticed with another farrier for the whole semester. And then just started doing that. And it picked up and I was doing really, really decent with it. And then I saved up enough money to pay out of pocket for shoeing school about 10 years later.
Where'd you go to shoeing school?
Casey and Son.
Okay.
Up in Northwest Georgia. But it was Jarvis Bowen bought it, and I went under him.
Yeah. Who was Farrier you rode with for a semester?
His name is Kenny Clark. He's a good friend of mine that we used to do team sorting and team penning with.
So what type of shoeing or trimming do you specialize in?
Most of my horses, about 99% of them are really just backyard trail horses. And I've got a few people that do some shows on the lower level. And I've had to do a little bit of corrective shoeing, just changing angles, getting them stood up better. So put a few wedge pads on and things like that just to get them stood up. But that's about it.
If you could have dinner with anybody in the hoof care world, who would you like to meet?
I got thinking about that, and I tell you what, just because I watched one of his videos on YouTube, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's from UK.
Not Simon Curtis?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that who it is?
Yes, sir. Because I've watched a few of his videos, and that's really helped me out. I'd love to talk to him for a while.
Well, there's no reason you can't. We can fix it for it. We'll make sure it happens.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, what was the first Farrier truck you had?
Well, the first when I first got started, I was riding around in a 96 F350 dually, and I had bought it used with only about 130,000 miles on it. And when I traded it in, I had about 250,000 miles on it.
Wow.
That was, golly, probably, I don't know, 3 to 5 years worth of me trimming out of it. And but since then, I've probably gone through 5 different trucks. And the one I personally put the most miles on, I bought it. It was a 2016 Ram 1500. It had about 13,000 miles on it when I bought it. And it had 30,000. I'm sorry, 30,000 miles on it when I bought it. It had 185,000 miles on it when I traded it in, and I only had it for 4 years.
Sure. So, when you're shoeing, you like to have another person in the barn with you for safety reasons, and it doesn't count your dog. It's got to be a person.
It just depends on the horse. I give customers the option. Just to kind of work around their work schedules and stuff. And it really just depends on the environment and the horse. If they've got a good setup and the horse is easy to catch and we all get along good, that kind of thing, I don't mind going in and doing it by myself. And that way I don't have to work stupid late hours after everybody else's work schedule.
Sure.
But if the horse is too much to handle, then I rely on the owner to be there holding for me.
Well, this is kind of what I wanted to run through, but is the dog still there?
Yes, sir. He's laid out on the floor.
Well, get him up and maybe stand up. I want to get some more pictures of the dog.
Come here, bro. Oh, there we go.
There you go. Hey, Frog. Frog, how you doing?
Hey, bro.
There you go. Right. Just hold him for a minute. We'll get some video. Got another question for you.
Yes, sir.
Your wife's got a couple horses.
Yes, sir.
And I assume you shoe them and trim them.
Yes, sir.
And
ours are just barefoot, but yes, sir.
Okay. Is she always telling you didn't do them on time for her, or that's the last client you get to?
I'm like a mechanic. Mine come last. I usually do mine when I'm looking out there at them and I'm like, oh, I should be shot. That's when I get to mine.
I spent a day once with a guy in Michigan, and his wife kept telling him that he's got to shoot these horses, and he never got around to it. And he came home one day, and she'd hired another farrier to do them.
Yeah, I've heard of that too. Yes, sir.
Right.
And I actually rode with a guy one time, and he just said straight up, he said, "I don't do my own. I let my wife pay somebody else to do them."
Right. Well, that's good. Anything else you'd like to talk about that we didn't cover?
I've got a situation going that we're cooking up a good plan for. I'm actually having shoulder surgery in March. I'm having my left shoulder replaced. I'm looking for apprentices for guys that could come ride with me and help me stay caught up on my horses.
Well, you should be getting this surgery in January, February when these guys up north get cold and want to come down there and help you.
Yeah, I've tried, but between the trip to Missouri and then during that trip, we're going to the summit, and then the week after we're going back to my school so I can take my advanced 2 test.
Oh, good.
I got the advanced 1 certification. I'm eligible for the advanced 2 certification now.
Right. Oh, great. You can let the dog down.
All right.
Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. And this was a great interview with both you and Phrog.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great day.
Awesome. You too, sir.
And remember to trim your wife's horses on schedule.
Yes, sir. I need to put them in the calendar so that I remember to do it.
All right. Take care. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.